Sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, Nachiketa wanted to know the nature of Atma, and Lord Yama started teaching what is the nature of Atma, I. Atma is not something, as Surya was saying, something out there, it is I, right? And he makes a statement, he explains what is the nature of Atma. Why should you, Atma, I am, is something which is known by everyone. Do you need to, if I ask you, are you there or not, do you need to think about it? No. The only thing in this world that you know for sure that is there is I am. Everything else you said, yeah, okay, let me look, let me hear. If I ask you, is the sound there? Let me hear. If the form there, let me see. But if I ask you, are you? Do you need to use your eyes? Do you need to use your ears? Do you? No. Without using your ears, without using your eyes, without using your nose, you can know I am. If everybody knows I am, it is what we call without using our normal means of knowledge. Normal means of knowledge means you generally need your eyes to see the forms, you need ears to hear the sound, you need your nose to hear to have the smells, you need your tongue to taste. If you put it here, there is no taste, right? And for touch, you need skin. So everything else in this universe you know through using those means of knowledge. There is only one thing that you know without using your sense organs, and that is what? I. This is why in Sanskrit we call Atma as self-evident, Swataha Siddhaha. Because it reveals its presence to you without the use of any sense organs. That's what it means, Swataha Siddhaha. If Atma is Swataha Siddhaha, it is self-evident. This is why you keep on saying, I am, I am, I am, I am. Why do you need Upanishads? You already know you are. Okay. You need Upanishad because you make a little mistake. Little mistake. The mistake is that whatever is the observer, which is the nature of, real nature of Atma, you mix it up with the observed. Oh, that's a mistake. And that mix-up costs, it's not a small mix-up. It costs you from immortality to mortality.
Sorry, but can you repeat please what you mix up? Because I didn't get it.
Yeah. Whatever is observed, you take it as the attribute of observer, the Atma. And when you do that, you limit your Atma so much. So much, it's a very costly mistake. Even though it's a little mistake, it's a huge mistake, because from limitless you become highly limited. And when you become highly limited, you cannot stand that limitation. You want to be free. And you try everything in this world to be free. Upanishad says, you don't need to try anything. You're already free. And I will show you how. And that is done by conducting an inquiry. If you're already free and you feel that you are not free, if you're already limitless and if you feel that you're not limitless and that you feel that you're limited, there is some distortion in your understanding. Therefore, the whole teaching is to remove that distortion so that you can see yourself in a true light. The observed. Now, if that's why, what is the nature of mistake? I cannot assume that you are making the mistake. Can I assume that you are making a mistake? No, I can't really assume. So I have to ask you, who are you? Then you start telling me things, who you are. Then I said, yeah, you are making a mistake. The minute you say, I'm 32 years old, the minute you say, I'm a male, I'm a female, I'm an engineer, I'm this, I'm that, and if this is really what you are, and that's all you are, and it's true that you are all that. I'm not denying that you are not that. But if this is your ultimate identity, then I know that you're making a mistake. You need a teaching. Okay? Then you start teaching. Don't start with an assumption that people are ignorant. Our teacher used to say that you never know who's a wise person. A simple housewife can be a jnani. That's why the student needs to ask for this knowledge. The teacher doesn't have the pressure to remove the ignorance of everyone. Ignorance and removal of ignorance. The minute you say, I'm 32 years old, what are you referring to? The body. The age of the body. Therefore, the inquiry is done from the standpoint of your mistake. Please understand that. I don't start the inquiry by, you're not the table. Because you don't have a problem. You don't think you are the table. Right? If the teacher has to remove the ignorance, the teacher has to start with where you are making a mistake. So therefore, you start with where you think, what you think you are, and this body, which is something which is observed by you, you take it as what? As you, the observer. Different conditions of the body, you know, from the birth till now, so many different conditions have taken place. Who are you? Are you those conditions? If you were the conditions, when the conditions went, you would what? Go. The very fact that you survive to see the changing conditions means you are not the conditions. You are the observer. So now, this is a big mistake that you are making. The body which actually belongs to the category of observed, you are what? Taking it as observer. The second mistake that you make when I ask you who are you, you can say I'm an engineer, I'm happy, I'm elated. You can say all good things also. Why should you say you are sad and angry and whatever, right? When you say that, even that is a mistake. Even if you say I'm really happy, even that is a mistake. Right? Because when you say that, what are you identifying yourself with?
Feeling good.
Excellent. Excellent. You're identifying yourself with feeling good. And where does that feeling come from? Emotions. And where do the emotions emerge? In the subtle body and the mind. Right? So therefore, why is it you're not the emotions? If you were, think about it, really think about it. If you were your emotions, and if the nature of I is emotion, right, you will never be, and which emotion you are?
Only happiness.
Only happiness, then most of the time you are not there. Because most of the time you are complaining, you are not happy.
So choose another one.
So choose another one. Right? If one emotion is an intrinsic nature of Atma, you will be stuck with that emotion for rest of your life. Because you can't get rid of something which is intrinsic nature of that thing. The very fact that the emotions are changing and you find yourself present, it means emotions come and go. Who are you? You are the observer. So again, there is a mistake. What the emotions and different aspects of mind which are observed by me, I take it as the nature of observer. Then, if the body is not I, if different modes of thinking which belong to my mind is not I, then who am I? What remains? It may seem as though nothing remains because your only identification is with what? Body and mind. But what remains, as Upanishad says, what you have negated is the observed, what remains is the observer. What is the nature of observer? Upanishads say it is Sat and Chit. Sat is an existence. I am existence. Self-existent. And self-evident. That self-existent Atma is of what nature? It is in form of consciousness, Chit, because of which you can come to know different conditions of your body, different conditions of your mind, You can come to know different bodies. You can come to know the trees. You can come to know the stars, the sun, the moon. Imagine without consciousness, would you be able to see all of that? You need consciousness. Yes.
Is this identical?
Sorry?
Is consciousness identical to the I?
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Now this particular question leads me to very intricate analysis which is done in Taittiriya Upanishad. When I say Atma is Sat and Chit, are these adjectives to Atma? Atma, for example, when I say this is a brown and medium-sized cup. Brown is an what? Adjective to a cup, right? Medium size is an adjective to the cup. What function do these adjectives serve?
To describe the cup.
To describe the cup, important. And what is the second? Excellent,
To
excellent.
distinguish it from a second cup.
Excellent. So, excellent. When I use, this is a brown, medium-sized cup, I use an adjective to first describe the cup, what is this cup. But the second very important thing is, as Gabby says, I use these adjectives to distinguish this cup from every other cup, from Ila's cup, from Anna's cup. Because when I say medium sized, it includes all these cups. The minute I say brown, I have eliminated those. Then this one still remains. Exactly. Then I have to use the third adjective because I have eliminated those two, but I have not yet eliminated these. So if I mean this, I need to use third adjective. What adjective would you use to distinguish that cup from this cup? My cup. Or the cup which is nearest to me.
Or what is in, no?
Or what's in there. Exactly.
What I'm touching.
Yeah, or what I'm touching. So that means you use adjectives to make it more and more and more specific so that you know exactly what I mean. Now, when I use the word Sat and Chit for Atma, are these adjectives?
No, this
No. Why? Correct. The answer is right. Why?
These are names for this.
Exactly. In Taittiriya Upanishad, Adi Shankaracharya describes in detail why they are not adjectives. Okay. Why they are not adjectives is, first, if there are many Atmas, then I need to distinguish one Atma from the other Atma, right? And I use adjectives to say yours is a blue Atma and mine is a red Atma. Right? But if Atma is only one, you don't need adjectives. Please understand. Because there are no two, there is only one. Therefore, if it's only one, what is this? Why do you say Atma is Sat and Chit? Why do you say that? What function does it serve? So this is why, as Yuta says, these are what are defining words. Because if I say Atma is limitless, your next question is, what is the nature of that Atma which is limitless? So I need to describe. I need to make you see what is the nature of that Atma. So therefore, these are what we call defining words. So in Sanskrit, we make a distinction between adjective and defining words. The adjective is called Visheshana and defining words are called Lakshana. Okay? So therefore, this is what we call defining words. That means, to answer your question, Atma is Sat and Atma is Chit. There is not one Atma which has the attributes of Sat and Chit. And then what is the nature of that Atma which, if you take out the attributes, right? So Atma is Sat and Atma is Chit. Yes?
Can you say it is on another level the same like the 1000 name of Shiva? And so it's a describing a description from Ishvara,
Yes.
the different aspects in the goddess, for example.
Oh. Mm.
Is this can you say this is a parallel
Yeah,
picture?
yeah. Some ways it's true that these are all very good. If you want to understand Ishvara, right, you always have a concept. If I say it's the cause of the universe, then you always have a picture. What is the picture you have? Some big guy sitting out there who's created me and moving me like a puppet. So I have to use a second description, something which pervades everything. The minute I use a second word to describe that Ishvara, which has a meaning which is contrary to what you believe, what does it serve? It serves its purpose in breaking your notion about what you think is Ishvara.
Or describes a bigger picture.
Exactly. Then you think Ishvara is only all good. Then you will have Rudra. I will say, you are in the thief. Hey Ishvara, you are in the thieves.
Bandits.
The whole
Terrorists.
Rudram has an amazing description of Ishvara. Ishvara includes everything. Because the problem is, if you attribute only good things to Ishvara, all the bad things, where do they come from? Then you need to create another entity. And then what? There is a constant fight between good and bad. And who seems to win? The bad seems to outweigh the good.
More powerful.
So who's this weak God that I'm praying to? He can't even manage with this devil or evil or whatever. How is he going to help me? So therefore, your definition of Ishvara has to undergo a transformation. Not your own ideas about what Ishvara is. With the teaching, you need to expand your understanding of Ishvara. And all these different names help you to do that. Every name has a connotation and you think Ishvara is only this. Then it says, no, it is this, plus this, and plus this, and plus this. What do? You come away from your narrow definition of what you think is Ishvara. Every day you chant this and you remind yourself about the meaning of what you are chanting. What happens? Soon the new definition will become what? More grounded, and your old definitions will be what? Naturally given up. Otherwise, you will be stuck with your own idea of what Ishvara is for a long time. So these are also defining words.
Yeah, but my question was, this is then now it's another level.
Yeah, because I can define anything, right? I don't only need to define Atma, I can define anything. I can define Ishvara. True. And when I'm defined, even Ishvara is defining because there are two Ishvaras.
Twins.
There are no two Ishvara, so I don't need to use adjectives to distinguish my Ishvara from your Ishvara. So these are also defining words. Correct. Right. Let's come to Atma. So therefore, Sat and Chit is Atma. It's not that Atma has the attribute of Sat and Chit. Very good point. Now this existence and consciousness, now the next question is observer, and everything is observed. Now the observed category, which initially included what? Anything from my clothes onwards became observed earlier. Now what happens? Even the body and the mind comes in the category of observed. Observer, now I have to ask this question, how many observers are there in this universe? When you do the inquiry, you say, I'm not the mind because mind is observed by me. I'm not the body because different conditions of the body are observed by me, and conditions change and I remain as an observer. So you're the observer who is existence and awareness. I'm the observer who is existence and awareness. She is the observer, which is existence and awareness. Now, the question is, how many existences and how many awarenesses are there? One. There is only one, because once I have given the status of observed to the body and to the mind, in order to establish that my existence and awareness is different from yours, I need to give some attribute to my existence and my awareness to distinguish it from your existence and your awareness. Which attribute will I give?
Age, body.
All those are already negated as observed. Yes?
Atma and Brahman.
So therefore, the observer is only one. Only one. Okay? That observer, the awareness, which is existence, it is only one. Then why does it seem to me that it is many?
It's the observer plus body.
Excellent. Because the way the world is set up, very good, Sahaja. The way the world is set up for me, I find that observer as though confined in this body, as though. Just like the way the world is set up, it seems as though that this space is confined to the cup. It's given, it comes like that. Right? Now this space is very unhappy because this space is so little compared to the room space. Always complaining, I'm stuck here.
Too much stress. Too much stress.
Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much stress. Too much str Look at this room, it accommodates so many people. And what do I accommodate? Not even 1 liter of water. Okay, this space is suffering limitation. Why? The space is not crazy. There is what we call, this is what we call an upadhi. An as though thing which seems to confine it. We are not mad people. We make this mistake because there is an as though, as Sahajo says, there is a body and there is a mind within which what? This awareness seems to be confined without really being confined. So that's why you need to remove that ignorance. You need to remove that mistake. Right? So therefore, what Vedanta says is that awareness, the observer, is only one, and what is observed is your body, your mind, every other object in the universe, sun, moon, stars, time, space, everything is in the category of observed. And observer is one, Sat and Chit, existence and awareness, which is self-evident to you. It's not an object, it is I am. Now, the Upanishads, this is not it seems like, okay, I've understood. Upanishad says, hey, you still need to understand some more. This object category includes how many objects? Countless. Of the past, of the present, and of the future. Countless objects. If they were really separate from the observer, then what? Observer is too little compared to the observed. Because observed is countless. So now there is a second level of inquiry, which is inquiring into the nature of the observed. The Jagat, the universe, which constitutes of all the different names and forms of the past, of the present, and of the future. When you begin to inquire into the reality of the observed, what do you find out? The observed object, which seems to be so tangible, which seems to be so real, is what? Is what?
Melting into nothing.
Melting into nothing. Lovely word. Very good. I'm so happy because you don't use the word mithya, because mithya you just get into mechanical. Melting into nothing. Wonderful. This shows that you understand. Melting into nothing. Wonderful. I love this word. Right? How does it melt into nothing?
Can you demonstrate the melting?
Without melting, I melted. Right? Just by inquiry. You don't need to have a match and you need to physically melt it. Right? I don't need to demonstrate the melting process. I just need to inquire and it melts by itself. Okay? The table is nothing but wood. The wood is nothing but atoms. The atoms are nothing but particles. The particles themselves are nothing but quarks. The quarks are nothing but a concept, and a concept cannot exist without awareness. That means this object, I thought I was in awareness and this is an object. Now this object has melted into that awareness. This is not just one object. You look at any object. You look at the sun. Same story. This whole big sun, which is such a blessing to us. Nothing but what? Atoms. The atoms are nothing but particles. The particles are nothing but quarks and concepts, and again it melts into awareness. Everything, my body, which I think is so real, it's what? Forms within forms, within forms, within forms, ultimately only cells. Cells, DNA, molecules, atoms, particles. Concept melts again into awareness. Show me one object that does not melt into awareness. So now you have how many things? First we said the observer that you are, Sat and Chit, is different from the observed. Now what do? The observed category itself, what have we done? We have swallowed it.
It's the same now.
Yeah, exactly. It is one now. What is the relationship? It is not exactly the same. The relationship is that of Satyam and Mithya. Awareness is which is independent of everything, whereas everything else depends upon awareness. It emerges from awareness and it goes back to awareness. While it is there, it depends entirely upon awareness for its existence.
Can you explain a bit this depth to the, from the physical reality to the concept part of the story? I mean, I can follow you down the ladder,
Yes.
down to the particles, but
Yes.
then suddenly it's like a magic trick.
So,
Now,
yeah. Exactly. So in fact, what is very interesting is that this quantum physics, and in fact, when I explain Ishvara, probably it will be even more clear. Okay? But just let's look at it only from the standpoint of this reality, right? You ask any quantum physicist that after particle, the whole quantum physics, right? Do you find any tangible objects?
no.
No. That's what I mean.
But it still could be energy, for example.
So,
What is energy?
yeah, then what exactly is that source of energy, right? So therefore, it just ultimately, in fact, what they say is, what quantum physics says is that at that level, okay, you may think that there is a real object, but in fact, whether a given thing behaves like a particle or like a wave, it depends upon the intention of the observer.
Oh, that's the connection. Okay.
That's a connection.
Okay. That helps me.
Yeah?
Mhm.
Okay. So there is no thing,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So if I want to measure the mass, it behaves like a particle. But if I want to look at the speed, it behaves like a wave. That's where the concept walks in. Yes? So therefore, ultimately, everything collapses in this awareness, which is the basis of everything. Okay? So now I have what? Absorbed the whole observed category into the awareness. Now, how many things are remaining? No things. Only Sat and Chit. Only awareness. From which the forms come, they manifest, and unto which the forms go back. In order, now who you thought you were, this tiny little individual, what is the vision of Vedanta? You are the only thing in this universe.
Maybe it's a stupid question, I don't know, but what about animals?
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Okay. Now, let's look at the animal. Just as my body, the body of a lion. What is it? Lion with all its different organs, different teeth, different, you know. Right? What is it ultimately?
It's an object, but
Yes.
they also have an awareness and a consciousness. So that's why I'm asking
Exactly.
about the animals.
Excellent.
Because like this they are
Right?
objects
So
with the body.
if the awareness is pervading everything, it also pervades what? It cannot exclude animals, right? Very good. Very
Yeah, but
good.
I
Yes.
still don't understand because the animals, they also have a consciousness.
Exactly. Everybody has. There is nothing away from consciousness. You're right. That's why the animal, they are very intelligent. Right? I went to Masai Mara, which is the very amazing games park in Nairobi, in Kenya. And what is interesting is you should see you should observe the behavior of an animal. In a lion family, who's in charge of hunting? Lioness. The lioness is in charge of hunting. That doesn't change. It's not like one day it tells the child, you go. Next day, hey, you go. One day lion goes. No. Lioness goes and hunts. Now lioness has to bring food for what? All the cubs and the lion. It has to find a place where it's easy
For shopping.
to find a prey. Otherwise it will go in jungles and look and look and look, and where it will find, what it will do. Where will the lioness go?
To this water.
Excellent. To a water place. Because she knows that all the animals will come to drink the water. She's intelligent. So she will go to a pond where all the animals are supposed to gather. They cannot but gather because they need water. Right? Now you see, so the people who take you on a jeep, they also know how to entertain you. So where do they take you? They take you to a water body where whole action takes place. There you go and you see deers. Deers calmly drinking water. But while they are very calmly drinking water, they are looking like this, they are looking like this.
Yes.
Right? What are they looking for? They are intelligent. There was no guru who to tell that lioness will come to get you. They know it. So while they are very peacefully drinking water, they are looking like this. Like this. Very alert. Okay? The minute the lioness comes, what happens? There is a whole communication within this herd. They all flee. And what does lioness do? Try to catch one. And when she catches, what does she do? She doesn't start eating. She brings it back to the family. Then there is a protocol of who eats first. Right? It's not culture. It's not culture specific.
It's a universal.
It's a behavior. It's a behavior which is part of the program.
Very intelligent.
Right? What happens? She comes and she brings this poor dead deer. And then the first one to eat is King Lion. Once he has finished eating, then who gets the chance? All the little cubs. Once they have finished, who gets it? The woman, lion.
If something is
If something is left. Right? So that means they also have intelligence. The programming of the mind is different. True. They also have a physical body. They also have a subtle body. They also have a causal body, because of which in this life they have come in this form. Some karma which brings them to this form. So, wherever there is a physical body, wherever there is a subtle body, wherever there is a causal body, is awareness there or not?
I would say yes.
Yes. Because everything melts in awareness. Whether in that body they can know this reality about themselves or not is a question. That is your question.
Yeah, maybe that
Yeah,
also.
that is your question. Right? They may or may not be able to know. That's why the next verse, actually what you're asking, the next verse explains it. Right? The fact is there. The fact does not depend upon you understanding or you not understanding. The second word is always there. The first, it depends which one you call first and which one you call second, right? It doesn't depend upon you have lived for billions of years not knowing that you're awareness. Whose loss it is? Awareness is lost? No. Right? So that means it is equally present. For whom it is available to be known is another question. Very good question. Right?
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah. So that we will see. In fact, the next verse is talking about it. Okay? So therefore, this is the reality which needs to be discovered by you. Awareness is one. Ekaha eva advitiyaha. It is one, non-dual. Billions of forms don't create a dent to awareness. The coming and going of the forms so many forms which existed in the past, like dinosaurs, don't exist now. But just as my body depends upon atoms and particles, that body also depended upon atoms and particles. In the future, some new species will emerge. There can be some huge natural activities and new species will emerge that we don't even know about. But the fact that it is nothing but atoms and particles will remain. So that's why, without knowing all the details about the forms, if you have to know all the details about all the forms to know the reality, will you ever know the reality in total? You'll never know it. But if forms melt into awareness, and while they exist, there is nothing but awareness, then you can say the forms which are known to me and unknown to me as an individual, they all depend upon awareness. The forms in the past, the forms in the present, the forms in the future. I don't need to know all the forms. Once I know the table and one body, then it includes what? Not only my body, but all the bodies, not only human bodies, it includes what? Animal body, bird body, it includes everything. What about inert objects? Mountains, rocks, they don't move around. Do they have consciousness?
Inside consciousness.
Excellent. They are within, it's a form which is also within consciousness. But if it is within consciousness, why the rock is not running around and saying, I want to listen to Vedanta, I want to come? What is the difference?
No legs.
Exactly. It doesn't have legs, absolutely. The form is different. And no mind. Excellent. There is no subtle body there. There is a physical body, but there is no subtle body. Because, sorry?
Is there a causal body?
There is a debate. There are some people who say that they have a causal body. There are some Vedantis, they say they don't have a causal body. But whether they have a causal body or not, the fact is that they are nothing but consciousness. Good question. Smart.
And plants.
The plants. Plants is the same. Cells,
Do they have a
they have subtle body.
subtle body?
Yeah. They have subtle body. They are in the category of sentient, not insentient. Sentient is...
Fluid, yes.
There was a scientist called, he was an Indian scientist, Jagdish Chandra Bose, who proved that the plants have a life. They are not inert. Even though they don't have legs, they are still alive. They are not in the same category as rocks. And
Like food. They have feelings.
they have feelings. That's why when you water the plant and you're singing,
Yeah.
then and you're talking to them, they grow better. Okay? So sentient and insentient, what is the difference is, as Ruth says, awareness is there. But what is not there?
Free will.
In one,
Free will is not there.
Free will is, not there, but subtle is not there. Because,
Water also has capacity to react on different emotions, and make photographs. So now if you think that everything is pervaded by water, so even the stones and everything.
there we'll talk about Ishvara, that will make it clear.
Yeah.
But what is the difference? Right now, let's just understand what is the difference between sentient things and insentient things. The sentient things have subtle body, the insentient things don't have a subtle body. And as Ann says, to have free will, you need a subtle body. But the other way is also possible. You can have a subtle body and not much of a free will. Right? You are more or less programmed. You have a subtle body, but it's a different type of subtle body. Where lioness doesn't make a choice, should I be a vegetarian or not? So the lioness has a subtle body, but it doesn't have a free will. It's programmed. So there is a distinction between free will and subtle body. The free will cannot exist without subtle body, but subtle body can be there without the possibility of free will. That's a relationship. You have to be clear about that.
I didn't get the word. Was hat einen subtilen Körper? Und
Pflanzen.
ja, sie hat blindness oder so gesagt.
Nein, die Löwin.
Die Löwin.
Ach,
Löwin.
Löwin. Ah,
Lion.
Female lion. Okay. So now, this is what we have heard, that everything, now the next question, as Gabby was asking, is exactly what is said here. Now, this ignorance, that mix-up that you have about observed and the nature of observer is confused with the nature of observed. When did this ignorance begin?
When the eye, when a small child noticed that with the eye, with the noticing of an eye, the separation started.
And is it only from this life? So this is why we say that this, your question yesterday, right? You came here because of causal body. You took this physical and subtle body because of some causes. In the causal body is what? The ignorance. So that causal body, you asked, when did it start? Your question.
Yeah, I know.
Yes?
But you said it didn't start.
Exactly. 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 So I said it didn't start. So that means this ignorance is going on from when?
It didn't start either.
Anadi. This ignorance is going on for how long? Forever. Now you want to remove this ignorance. Can you remove that ignorance at just the causal level? No. You need a body.
And the mind.
And the mind. Perfect. Perfect. You need a body and mind to inquire into the nature of that ignorance and to work it out. And for that, you need a specific type of mind. You can't do it with a lion's mind. That's why human birth is considered to be a highly privileged birth. Highly privileged birth because you are with a mind which is capable of inquiring and what? Removing that ignorance which has been going on for time immemorial. This is why Upanishads say that human birth is a very special birth. And if you leave this world without knowing your true nature, you are Krupanaha. Who is a Krupanaha? You are a miser person. Why is a miser? What is this miser? Why the analogy of miser? Who is a miser? If you don't have money and if you don't spend it, are you a miser? No. But if you have the money and if you don't spend it, then you are a miser. If you are given a buddhi to figure it out, if you don't have a buddhi to figure it out, you have no option. But if you are given a buddhi who can potentially figure it out and you go from this world not figuring it out, then you are what? Miser. You have it, but you don't use it. Right? So therefore, please don't devalue your individuality. Your physical body and the mind gives you an opportunity to figure out a problem that is existing for time immemorial. If you devalue this amazing capacity that you are given, because of which you are able to figure it out, and you want to disown it, it will just have fun. The mind will say, you don't want to use me? Okay, you will be in that ignorance forever. No, I'm not the mind, I'm not the mind. Use your mind. Because the mind is the one which will figure it out. Embellish that mind. Make it sharp. Make it brilliant. Make it endowed with all the qualities. You need to pay attention to that individuality, not just deny it. And this is why, even though mind and physical body is mithya, it is your responsibility to use them to the best, to the maximum that they can do. Mithya does not mean you don't pay attention or you try to negate it. Right? This physical body and the mind is the biggest gift that you have. And you need it. Without this, you will not be able to figure. That ignorance which lies at a causal level, you will not be able to remove it. Okay? The next verse explains this idea. It says, Atmanam rathinam vidhi shariraha rathamevatu buddhim tu sarathi vidhi mana pragraham evacha indriyani hayanahuhu vishayaha teshu gocharan atma indriya manoyuktam bhokta iti ahuhu manishinaha. Okay? He says, know this jiva. Who is this jiva? Now let's understand what is meant by the word. Now you have all of a sudden a different word altogether. Right? Up to now, what we have seen? Physical body, sthula sharira, subtle body, sukshma sharira, causal body, karana sharira. What is jiva? All three. Perfect. Okay. Jiva, the term, means the individuality that I feel, right? That individual, because of the ignorance of my total nature, my real nature, okay, when I'm identified with physical, subtle and causal, that entity is called jiva. This awareness, because of ignorance, takes itself to be as good as the physical, subtle and causal, and as a result keeps going from one body to the other is called jiva. Okay? So that means a jiva, the person, the awareness which is clouded by ignorance, comes into, because of the causes, comes into this body. This body is like a chariot. Right? So this body is equated to a chariot. Shariram, jiva is the rathinam. The rathinam is the one who owns the chariot. The physical body is the chariot. Buddhim tu sarathi vidhi. Okay? Intellect to be the chariot driver. It drives your body. What you are going to do with your physical body. Right? Manaha pragraha mevacha. The mind are the reins.
Zügel.
What's reins?
Zügel.
Okay? The sense organs, they say, are the horses. 5 sense organs are the horses. Okay? And the objects of the sense are the paths. Okay? That the wise men say that the jiva, along with the body, sense organs and the mind, is the experiencer or the enjoyer. Okay? Now, use this analogy to see the fact that all of a sudden you find yourself dropped on this earth. You didn't know what is in the past, you don't know what is in the future, you are just dropped on this earth, the person, jiva, with some equipment. What is the equipment you are given? A physical body, 5 senses, mind and intellect. Now, you are given, as Anne says, you have a free will, you are given the freedom to do what you want with this body, the senses and the mind. What will you do? You look around and see what others are doing and you do the same thing.
That's the problem.
Then somebody is, everybody is doing it, but where are they getting where they are wanting to get?
Something is always missing.
Something is always missing, right? So you have all the equipment to go to the destination. What is the destination? If you have no destination in mind, what will you do with this body and senses and mind and intellect?
Most people just enjoy.
Just enjoy. Who runs the show?
Senses.
Senses run the show. Right? I see an object, it fascinates me, let's go for it. Right? And then I try so hard, and sometimes I don't get it, I'm disappointed. Even if I get it, I enjoy it for a while, and then what? It loses its value for me. Then I want something else. Then I want something else. Then I want something else. This is what we call the experiencer seeker. The experience seeker going from one experience to the other. And the same orientation that I have, that I seek one experience of pleasure to the other experience of pleasure, I carry it forward in my spiritual pursuit too. I want some extraordinary experience now, because ordinary experiences don't give me things. Then I want some extraordinary thing, because that'll be wonderful. Then I keep on, oh yeah, one day I had that experience. Then you want to recreate that experience, you want to prolong that. You are caught. You are caught forever. Right? What is ruling? As she says, the senses are ruling. Experiences.
Still for the searcher?
Sorry?
Still for the seeker, the senses are running the show?
Even for, if you don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Because for every experience you need senses and the mind.
And the mind.
So also the mind is the ruler, no?
Yeah. So therefore, in this analogy, look at the analogy of this charioteer who has been given a chariot and horses and reins and what? There is a person who drives the chariot. Okay. Now, if the buddhi who is driving the chariot has no idea where to go, what will happen?
The horses take over.
The horses take over. So in this equipment that you are given, if your buddhi does not have any idea as to where you want to go in life, what will take over? Senses. You see something fascinating, you go for it. Whole life, what? If you have no destination in mind, the horse will feel like what? I want here, I'm feeling hungry now, I'm feeling thirsty now, I want to see that mountain, I want to see that tree, and it'll go all over. And one day, what? The chariot is worn out, the horses are all old. The mind will be lethargic, the reins are all loose, the buddhi is passive. Gone. Opportunity gone. Right? But if the buddhi knows where it wants to go, then what happens? There is a direction. You know where you want to go. Then, for getting where you want to go, do you need the horse or not? You need it. You need the reins or not? You need them. Don't try to negate them. You need them. You need a good driver or not? You need it. You need it. You need your body, you need your mind. Please don't negate it. Without this blessing from the body and mind, you will not gain moksha. Don't say, I don't want to identify with my individuality. That very individuality will enable you to understand. Without this individuality, you will not understand. But this individuality, which is raw, you need to refine it. If the chariot driver is intelligent, will it be indifferent to the horses? No, it will feed the horses. What will it feed to the horse?
The right food.
Right food. Right? Right food. What is right food for your senses? Think about it. Which helps you to think. What is the right food for your senses? Think about it.
Isn't it also possible that the chariot driver let the horses for some time go their way to find
Lovely,
sunlight?
lovely. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
It's not like you always have to be mean or to like drive them crazy. You need to give some good time to your horses, right? It's a what? A chilling time. It's a chocolate time. But the life is not spent in eating chocolates, right?
You grow in a way.
You grow, but not in the right direction. Only the direction, that's all. Okay? So therefore, you nourish. Please don't say your senses are bad. Senses are not bad, they are just reporters. And love for aesthetics, beautiful. Love for subtle things, beautiful. It's not to be condemned, right? That's how you refine your senses, from gross to subtle. But if you try to negate your senses, what will happen? one big opportunity is wasted. Big gift is wasted.
Why should one negate the senses?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, lot of spiritual teaching gets away by saying don't feed your senses. And they are successful. Billions of people go to them. What we are saying is nourish your senses from gross to finer things. That is your free will. Use your free will. Either you can get your enjoyment by just getting drugged out, or you can get enjoyment by going to the nature and seeing the beauty. Both require senses, but they are different. You can't just categorically say any engagement with the senses is bad. That is a very irresponsible message. Refine your senses.
Another misunderstanding is that sometimes I hear that you should get rid of your ego.
Exactly.
It's
very extremely destructive, because you think, oh, ego is giving me that smallness, I want to get rid of my ego so I can be that big. Problem. Your I sense is something which is part of that program, which enables you to function as I was saying yesterday. Otherwise, instead of feeding you, you'll feed somebody else. You need I sense. It's not wrong to have I sense. You only need to give up your whole sense of I in this I sense. That's all. It's just cognitive. You don't need to annihilate your I sense. In fact, you need to nourish it so that it can understand that reality. Very true. Right?
What is about discipline of your senses?
Very good. That's what I mean, making from gross pleasures to refined. That is discipline. Right? Because generally, somebody was saying, like for food habits, for example, what I like, what is either fattening or bad for my health, or what? This is kind of a saying that our natural tendency is what we like is not really good for us. So now you have to refine. That doesn't mean you have to shut your senses. That only means that you need to educate yourself in a way that you begin, that the very senses, the sense of beauty that you have, your eyes, instead of gross things, it can actually appreciate beautiful things. That is the growth. That is what we call disciplining. Taking them away slowly from their natural tendencies to something which is more refined. That is how true. Right? You need to because there is a natural flow, and you need to somehow educate it to make it more subtle and more self-enhancing. But doesn't mean you need to shut the senses. Yes? So that is what we call disciplining.
I think it's the same. It's like taking the chariot driver, the intellect, in this and to...
Exactly. In order to, very good, what she's saying is absolutely right. How will you educate your senses to be interested in more finer things? Whose help do you need? As Ila says very rightly, you need the help of mind and buddhi. You need your buddhi and mind all the time. They are your assets, without which you can't know this reality. Value them. right? So therefore, the senses are educated. What about the mind? If the mind has what? Confusion, what will happen? You think that you can make those senses finer? As Ila says, you also need to work at the level of mind, without which the senses will not just automatically get corrected. You need help from your mind. What is a mind? That is, in Sanskrit, there are different definitions of mind. One is, as we explained earlier, the emoting. The emoting faculty is called mind. The other faculty that we define mind to be is what we call sankalpa vikalpatmikaha manaha. A mind which presents choices. You are in a situation. Should I do this or should I do that? This faculty that is available to you to say there are many options, different options that are there for me to act in this situation, this faculty is what we call the mind. Sankalpa, vikalpa. Should I do this? Should I do that? This process gives you options. This is very important. The same situation presents in front of 5 people. Do you think all of them will respond to that situation exactly in the same manner? No. What has happened? The mind is first making sense of that situation, then coming up with different options that it has to deal with that situation, and then what happens? Buddhi, which is nishchayatmika buddhi, decides what I should do, and then they will respond. Right? Senses are reporters. They give information to the mind. Mind is sankalpa vikalpa, coming up with different options, and buddhi is within these options that I have, which one I choose.
Yeah.
Is it what we call nishchayatmika? Who's the chariot driver?
This is the ideal way, no? That the Buddhi decides.
Buddhi decides. That's why you need to cultivate, right? This instrument is given to you. If it is uncultivated instrument, it will just do whatever it wants.
Ice cream.
Ice creams and yeah, right? But if you learn to, this is what we call growth. This asset which is given to you is a raw asset. You can use your effort to make it a real asset, which will get you to moksha. Or you can, still there is work to be done. So therefore, you need mind and you need the buddhi. You need all three.
Buddhi is intellect.
The buddhi is intellect. Nishchayatmika. Mind is sankalpa vikalpatmikaha manaha. The horses, the senses will report, right? Then the reins will somehow have to be managed, but they have to be managed with reference to what? What the chariot driver understands, right? The ultimate decision making rests with what? Buddhi, the intellect, which then decides within these options, what am I going to do? I have these options. I want moksha. What am I going to do for moksha? I can attend this retreat, I can attend that retreat, I can go for this workshop, I can go for that workshop. You have options.
And the Buddhi depends on the mind, which report he has.
Exactly. Because I can only make choices within what I know are the possibilities. Perfect. You can't choose something that you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So mind does that job of giving you these different options. If you did not have different options, how will you choose?
Can you
Very good, Anna.
Many of these options are coming from old programs. No?
But you can...
This is,
exactly.
of course, but
Yes,
they are coming.
exactly. So initially you have come with a causal body, you've come with prarabdha, so it has some programming. But the beauty of free will is that you can not be just slave of that program. You can reprogram. Updating the versions. You are coming with one version, but you're not stuck with that version. You can always update it.
Can you explain the difference between the intellect and the mind?
Yeah, when situation occurs, let's say you want to go on a holiday, right? So now that is your desire, the mind. What is the mind? Options. I should go, I have a possibility of going to India for my spiritual pursuit. I have a possibility of going to Italy because I love Italian food. Right? I have a possibility of going to Bali. Right? You have all these options. Who presents these options? Mind. What do you want to do? What is your desire? To go on a vacation. Right? Mind presents all these options. Then, all these options you can't do in one holiday. So you have to decide. Who decides? Buddhi, intellect. It tries to reason it out and say, okay, now if I have this much budget, right? And what is the most important thing for me? You do this thinking process within to assess the options and to decide one, because you can't do all. This is what we call intellect. Mind presents options, Buddhi decides which of these options I'm going to do.
But isn't then intellect a part of the mind?
But there is, of course, everything is part of the same faculty, but you distinguish the same to see that how it's not possible that when you go, to give you an example, when you want to go for a holiday, it's not only one thought which comes to your mind, that I want to go this. Different options come into your mind, within which you choose. So the two processes are there, they are given names.
So one is manaha,
the other one is,
and the other one is buddhi. So
now,
we are loosely translating manaha by mind, which in English means the whole thing. Okay? So here we are more specific. We're using manaha in the sense of this exploration of different alternative options. Okay? So come back to the definition again, not to the English translation of the definition.
And this is something which is extremely important, because a practical use of that. You are angry. You have options. Either you can just negate or deny your anger, one option, or you can just blow up, second option, and victimize the other. Third option is you acknowledge that anger, but you act non-violently. These options are there.
That's what you meant with center.
Exactly. That's what exactly. When the intellect chooses the third option, I acknowledge that anger, but I act not from that anger, but I do what needs to be done. I'm centered. This is where it depends upon how cultivated your buddhi is, because mind gives you with all these options. But what you decide shows how cultivated your buddhi is. That's why you need to cultivate your buddhi. And that requires effort. It doesn't happen automatically.
Would it be correct to say that maybe some animals don't have buddhi?
Excellent. They do have a buddhi. It's, as I explained in this example of lions, they're acting very intelligently, but they don't have the free will. They don't have the free will to say, okay, now, let me go to school and study mathematics. They don't have that buddhi. Or let me see how old is the universe in which I'm living. Right? They have lot of they have buddhi, right? They are intelligent. It's not they have zero intelligence, but their intelligence is not evolved enough to engage in finer or higher questions in life.
So there's different kinds of buddhi.
Exactly. They're different types of buddhi. And this is why this human birth is important, because you are given the type of buddhi which is able to engage in this inquiry. Okay, now what is the time? Got it, 10 to 11. So therefore, now what happens is you come with this ratha, the body, senses, mind and buddhi, okay, and you come and you what? You concluded because of the causal ignorance. What have you concluded? That I've come here to be what? Bhoktaha. I've come here to enjoy. Now, then what happens? You try to be happy, because enjoyment means happiness. Then you need your senses, then you need your mind, you need your intellect, and then you use all of this for enjoyment. Then one day you realize, I'm getting nowhere with this enjoyment process. Then you still have to use the senses. Then you say, oh, now I have to reject the senses, I have to reject the body, and I have to reject the mind, and I have to reject the intellect, because it doesn't give me the happiness that I'm looking for. So I have to go beyond it. No. Use it differently. You don't need to go beyond it. You need to use it intelligently. Okay? So therefore, the next verse says...
I have one last question for this. So, when the mind gives you these options and the intellect, is there to reason it out? So where do you have the intuition, so that, to follow, to choose things? Or is there any space for this?
Yeah. The intuition is something, yeah. So
It's a part of buddhi?
It's part of buddhi. Okay. So that means what seems like an intuition is, the past experiences that you have had, they are stored in your memory. Right? So those stored experiences and the meaning you gave to those experiences are also stored in the memory. Not just the experiences, but the meaning that you gave, or the understanding that you derived from those experiences. Right? It's gathered. When the situation presents, then it's one process by which you just use your analytical mind and you say, okay, now this is a pro and this is a con, which is your active mind. Then you also retrieve something from your memory bank, the understanding that you have gained, right? Which is a process which is what we call intuition, which gives you certain insight into, yeah, this seems right, that doesn't seem so right. Okay? But intuition is not always right. Your intuition can be very wrong. Because in the past, the memory and the sense that you have made for events could be faulty.
But is intuition only triggered by the past? Isn't it also like guided by, I don't know?
Okay, very good. That's a question which is a very important question, because there is an intuition which comes from being alive to Ishvara and asking for help, because we will see that. Okay, what is the basis of all this manifestation is not just consciousness. There is one more intervening factor, which is intelligence. And you can ask for help and you can receive certain insights. That is what also intuition. Very good. I will talk about it in Ishvara. That is tapping the intelligence of Ishvara. Because our intelligence is sometimes not enough to figure out everything. That we will talk. Very good. Right?
Okay.
So, you have all this equipment to help you. Okay? And therefore, now the next thing is, when they are misguided, what is your job? To use them effectively. So this is what we call the growth process. And if you use them intelligently, what will you get? So this is what is explained in the next verse, which we will do in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.